Okay, you guys, we're down at the boat and we're trying to get the old name off, and it's really a challenge. We tried. What did we try? We tried this stuff here. So, Goo Gone, basically, what that does is softens up the vinyl, and that is really good to get the residue off from the actual adhesive underneath the vinyl. But it doesn't work so well for really old, crusted up vinyl itself. So now we will try a heat gun. The problem is our boat is located here in a gravel lot. They pushed us all the way back. We don't have power. So fortunately there's Harbor Freight. I love Harbor Freight. We're not sponsored by them, but anyhow, there's a heat gun and that runs on battery. So I hope that's a lifesaver, and I got it like a plastic razor blade here that we don't damage the gel coat too much. So that's plan A. If that doesn't work, we have a plan B. There's also something like a ginormous spinning eraser. Let me get that out of its pack to show you that. And that you put basically, it's like a rubber wheel that you put on a regular drill. And the idea is it grabs the vinyl and just rips it off, but I've seen reviews online where they said you gotta be careful with that. If you press too hard or so, it might take off paint or possibly damage the gel coat. I don't know. I have never used that, so we start out with the heat gun and see how far we can push it. And once we got that old crusted vinyl off, then the idea is to use basically Goo Gone, and that gets the residue off, and then eventually once that is all off, we clean it and polish it up, and hopefully that's going to do the job for us so that we can start to slap the new name on. Okay guys, so here it is, little setup. This is really terrible. I scraped all that away here. That S took me, I don't know how long. You can see the rest residue is still on. That's what I use that glue off for. And yeah, I know it says skittish now. It's even worse than skittish. So, right babe?
Yes.
So we gotta get that off somehow. And I don't know, it looks almost like the hull has been painted. This doesn't seem to be the gel coat. I'm not 100% certain, but you can see there's significant damage, and I think this might be actually a paint. That she had a paint shop before, but I don't know. We have to investigate further. For now, job today is to get it off. So we'll see how well that Harbor Freight gig does. Guess what? As it always goes, it's cold and windy, and that cold wind will of course go hardly against, or makes this pretty insignificant here, unless I get really close to it. So here goes nothing. Let's see if we can heat it up. Don't want to hold it too close for too long. I mean, you can also burn that off here. That wouldn't be a good thing. The idea is just to soften it up a little bit. Yeah, it seems to work, but not entirely great. It works somehow. So I just scraped that off. That was pretty alright. You can see the rest of the residue on there. So we'll see what we can do now with that stuff. Say about 30 seconds to a minute or so, and then we'll see here where the residue is, if we can wipe that off. Important is that you don't let that sit for too long, because that can also damage paint. So you don't want to have that on the hull for too long. Just really to soften that up a little bit and scrape it off. Alright, so it works with the heat gun, but with the cold wind today, it's slower and rather tedious. So I'm trying to employ this now and see if we have better luck with that. That is basically like, essentially like a big rubber eraser or so. And with that you need to be very careful. I hope I don't damage the paint job. We'll see how it goes. Here goes nothing. What?
I don't know if this is doing anything.
It's doing nothing at all. A little bit, but it really takes a lot of pressure. Let's try one more time. Oh yeah, here we go. You gotta keep moving. Yeah, it's actually, I don't know, maybe I'm not doing it right, but I feel our approach with the heat gun was more efficient. Guys, the problem with this here is that stuff is super old and really hard. And that Goo Gone kind of restores its original condition, theoretically, I know. I tried that before and it is so old that not even that works well. So maybe Goo Gone first and then the eraser? I don't know, let's keep trying. That will take ever. Sorry, have to cut that out. That will take a very long time. That is very, very tedious, especially with that wind. We are here Lake Superior, as you know, and the wind is right now from the east, northeast. So it comes straight over the lake. It's May, so the lake acts like a ginormous cool pack. And although it's up further up north, it's relatively warm today and pleasant. Down here, directly at the water, it's not. That seems to work better. Honestly, that works actually much better, as long as you can keep the heat going. So now I got a hang of it. That thing is actually not bad at all. It's like a big eraser, like a rubber. It takes everything off. The good thing is, it also takes the adhesive off with it. So that's actually quite nice. It kind of uses itself up. You can tell it really works literally like an eraser for a pencil or something. So, and that is really old and hard and crusty vinyl, and that didn't come off easy at all. Not with a scraper, not with what is that, Goo Gone or what that is, that chemical stuff. But I mean, it's a bit of a mess, creates some weird flakes and whatnot, but it works like a charm. I guess important is that you keep moving so that you don't eat into the gel coat itself or the paint or whatever you do that on, but it really takes it off quite easily actually. Well, good thing that we have ball valves everywhere and decent seacocks basically. But the thing is, there's only one little hose clamp. There should be two underneath the water line, always two hose clamps. So I'll put on another one here, stainless steel, just to make sure. You know, better safe than sorry. Alright, that should do it. Much better good. Yeah, so Carolina isn't here. Hang on, let me adjust it real quick. So Carolina isn't here today, but she made me lunch. Super nice. She'll be back next time. We're just trying to get the boat ready as quick as possible because we want to launch splash next Friday. This upcoming Friday. So there's not much time left. Ooh, yeah, leftover barbecue from yesterday. So we're looking at some pork tenderloins, a homemade potato salad, a homemade pasta salad, and some cevapcici, which is well, let me know if anybody knows what that is. It's actually from the Balkan area, former Yugoslavia. And usually that goes well with tzatziki. Alright, lunchtime. Oh yeah, and my favorite ketchup. Hela ketchup from Germany. Yes. I had it shipped in on Amazon. You can get everything on Amazon. Love it. Thank you, Jeff Bezos. Oh, just kidding. Oh yeah. Was a little bit better yesterday when it was warmer for sleep. I have nothing here to warm it up with. Still delicious though. So good. Pretty alright for a little lunch break, right? As some of you might know, when we got our Bianca 27 sailboat, you know, for really cheap, the zincs were gone. So I put here now, because we're going into freshwater aluminum alloy. In brackish water you want zinc, lead, and those were gone on our Bianca 27. Turned out galvanic corrosion is a real thing. We had to replace all the floor fittings, all the seacocks, the prop, everything. It was a disaster, very expensive. That little thing cost, I don't know, I paid $12 for it, probably way too much. But you know, to prevent that from happening, so worth it. So here it is, not making that mistake again. Or let's say this time we paid attention to it. It wasn't our mistake, but we didn't catch the damage, you know, when we did the survey. So hopefully this time we'll do better. Alright, before we put the new decals on, let's clean it off a little bit. Just using dish soap, nothing fancy. I have no water, no hose here. That's why I have to do that with a spray bottle. But I mean, it works alright. Should get the job done. And now this time around I try the wet method when I apply the decals. So we'll use some soap, dishwater generously, and then pour it down, have that floating underneath the sticker, and then squeeze it out. Hopefully that will give me a better result, because so far I always had to contend with a few bubbles that I couldn't get out, and then you start poking them and it never looks nice. So this time around we'll try the wet method. Maybe we will fare better with that one. Yeah, so that wet method didn't go very well for me, to be honest. It dried over, it's so hot, I had no chance. So I basically split it in a couple of pieces and put it on and struck it, and then I poked those little bubbles and, you know, squeezed the air out, and that's the result. Alright, I hope that will do. We'll see how it looks like once the swim ladder is up. See if it's still readable from the distance. I would say it looks pretty. I'm happy with it. That looks good. Yeah, so there she is, Murphy. So next we'll polish this up. So you can see there's a visible remainder of that old decal name. So what I'm using is a one-step compound. Again, not sponsored by that, you might as well use 3M or whatever. It's an aggressive cleanup plus polish, removes heavy oxidation, tough hard water spots and scratches, restores neglected surfaces, produces amazing shine and luster. Excellent results by hand or machine. So that's the magic stuff we are going to employ here. And then again, also not sponsored by Harbor Freight, that's a house brand Bauer. You've seen me using the heat gun. That is now a little polisher, runs on the same battery. So we'll rub it on with a cloth and polish up, and then again a clean cloth to get the stuff off, and we'll see what the result looks like. So rag first, I'll put on with a rag, then polish up with this stuff, one compound, and then use a clean rag to get this off. And again, amazing shine and luster. I wonder who writes that kind of stuff. It must be the same guys that write the wine labels when they tell you there's a hint of chocolate and mocha in it, and you go like, I don't know, it tastes like wine. But anyhow, you see where I'm going with that. I'm just kidding. You know, I'm not a connoisseur, so my apologies. Sometimes there might be actually a note of something in there. So we'll see how well that does. Let's try to apply that thin and even in small areas like this, and we'll polish it up. Alright, by all means not perfect, but I think pretty good. So that will do it for now. Want to go sailing after all, not just working on the boat again. Man, it smells in here. That holding tank is definitely a problem. I think we have to put new hoses on. That's usually what creates that unpleasant odor. Anyhow, so cushions out, they've been all washed and everything. We're getting ready to splash the boat. So with the decal removal, quick facet here. From my experience now with this, the glue gun was pretty alright for getting the adhesive off, but not so much the vinyl. There was one gentleman here working as security guard. His name is Heinz, super cool guy, almost 90 years old, awesome dude. And he came by and gave me a different product. I'll show you that here in a moment. That is like Goo Gone, just better. And what that does, what any of those products do, they basically restore the original condition of the vinyl, or at least try to get as close as possible. So when you have really old brittle vinyl that is basically splintering off almost as you scrape it, that would make it nice and soft again, that you can almost grab a little piece and peel it off again, at least a little bit. And so it made it much better, but it was still tedious in my opinion. And then I tried the heat gun. The heat gun here, yeah, you know, it is very much dependent on ambient temperature. And we had a couple of days, we had a wind from the northeast coming over Lake Superior, and that lake is very deep and very cold still. So by the time this air mass reaches the twin ports of Duluth and Superior, it is really darn cold. And then in combination with the wind, with a little bit of a breeze, it makes it really tough to get enough sufficient heat on with the heat gun. However, I had one warmer day where I tried it and it worked out pretty alright. I have a heat gun here with a battery pack because I don't have a cable long enough to get power over here to where the boat is right now, that end gravel lot here. And long story short, heat gun works, but you have to keep moving. You cannot burn obviously the gel coat or the paint on the boat, so be careful with that. And the plastic scraper also cannot get too warm because it's also plastic, or it gets too soft. So you have to kind of heat up the vinyl, then scrape off and keep going like that. So also relatively tedious in my personal opinion. So also on that note, if you have a painted hull, be careful also with Goo Gone or any other chemical product, because it can soften up the paint itself also. So be aware of that. And it eats into the gel coat, so don't leave it on for too long. Use it until it softens the material up, and then start scraping, and then wipe it off, clean it off with water and soap or something. So last but not least, what worked best for me was the spinning rubber eraser. I thought it was awesome because it is not dependent on ambient temperature, and it takes the adhesive off also. So it does two things in one. I will go one more time over with Goo Gone just for due diligence, but technically there's no adhesive on there at all. So it works really good, and it is relatively quick in comparison to all the other methods that I tried. I ordered on Amazon a 4-pack of those spinning rubber things that you put into your drill, and I think I paid 20 bucks for it. And they use themselves up, same like an eraser rubber on the back of a pencil when you use it. But it's not terrible. I mean, I did those long decals that are, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet long on each side of the hull, and I haven't even used up one of them. So I have plenty of them in reserve. And so it went quick, took also the adhesive off, and it is not dependent on ambient temperature. So I like that best. So not sponsored by any one of them. Was the stuff that Heinz gave me. That gentleman, oops, wind, bummer. So anyhow, that is the best stuff. I think that's really cool. It makes the vinyl super soft, almost like new condition. You can actually peel it off, even though it was super brittle before. And then I used Goo Gone. This stuff is really great in getting the adhesive off, but I had not so much luck with soften up this old brittle vinyl of the decal itself. So yeah, and then last but not least, sorry about that, rookie channel, as you can tell, Mr. Clean Eraser. Any stripes on the hull in the gel coat, that will get it out. Just wetten it and then rub away on it, and it does magic. It's really impressive. So, after I had the decals off, this and that, cleaned the remainders of the blue marks where the rubber slightly rubbed it into the gel coat with a Mr. Clean sponge, and then, now last but not least, we polish it up. Alright, I hope that helped you out today. As always, if it did, please be so kind. Smash that like button for us. It really helps us to mess with that YouTube algorithm. And then also share, subscribe, And don't forget that little bell icon, because that helps you, or that what that will do is it will notify you then whenever we release new footage. And if you want to support the channel a bit further, go on. We leave a link down below for our Patreon page, and again, just looking into that doesn't cost you anything. And then the way that works is if you decide to help out here, you will only be charged when we release footage, otherwise it doesn't charge anything. So it's a pretty cool thing. It's crowdfunding essentially for this channel. If you think it's helpful and you want us to get better equipment and move forward with it, that's a good way to help us out here. So thanks a lot, guys. We're getting ready for Splash Day, and that's what's coming up next time. So stay tuned. I'll see you next time on Sailing Good Outdoors. Even say it on here. This stuff really works. Looks like spring is finally here.
Finally.
Yeah.
It's so warm.
Yeah, we went from ice cold winter to basically beginning of summer, skipping spring almost. Like this thing was frozen like 10 days ago. We still had snow on the ground and the lake was frozen. Can you imagine that?